Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and staying safe during this time. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Like I said, thank you so much for checking me out. If you haven't done so, please make sure to hit that subscribe button just right below the video. Cool, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you're returning, welcome back. Thanks again for your support. I truly do appreciate having you here.
John Deaton says, I have an honest question for Blockchain Association, Coin Center, Ethereum Foundation, Ethereum Joseph Lubin, Vitalik Buterin were sued by SEC and it claimed today's ETH, including in the secondary market, are all securities. Would you have filed for amicus curiae? He says, I still would have. Because John Deaton knew it was wrong when it happened to XRP, and he knows that in that scenario, it would be wrong if it happened to Ethereum. You know, I find it very suspicious, and I mean very suspicious, that Perry Ann Boring and the Digital Chamber of Commerce, Jake Chervinsky, and the Blockchain Association claiming to be industry representatives for the crypto space, when in fact it looks like just another group of cronies representing special interests for Bitcoin and Ethereum alike. And as long as they can stay out of the fray, you'll hear nothing from them in the way of the SEC versus Ripple, which, as we all understand, it's not to come to Ripple's aid. It's not to just come to John Deaton's aid for the class action lawsuit, but because we all realize that the SEC versus Ripple and XRP case is really indicative of how the entire crypto space will be treated depending on the outcome of this case. So I tell you, their absence is speaking very loudly at this point. Look right here, we believe that cryptocurrencies are a viable investment today, even though they remain in the early stages of their investment evolution. We recommend professionally managed private placements for now, they say, as investment landscape's still maturing. This is Wells Fargo saying, and taking the question into light here, too early or too late. Now, they go through both scenarios, but I wanted to share with you this. I believe this is where we're at here. Why I believe we're early, but not too early. They see cryptocurrencies in the early but not too early investment stage, which is why we have emphasized investor education, as we often do on this channel always. Do your own research, not financial advice. The thrust of our views come from global cryptocurrency adoption rates, which have quickly accelerated from a low base. Cryptocurrencies have been following an adoption pattern similar to other new advanced technologies such as the internet. For the remainder of this piece, they'll discuss the advanced technology, you get it. But the point is that they consider this, and we touched on this a little bit last week, but this article is really hitting home with me, and I think it, at the very least, should hit home with all of us. And they consider cryptocurrencies to appear to be in the hyper-adoption phase, similar to the early days of the internet, the mid to late 90s. And I'm here for it, and I know you are too if you're hearing my voice. Listen to this right here, because this is how it gets done. I think JV captioned this great here when he said, this is why Ripple and XRP are hated. Also have to ask, with a company that welcomes and promoted regulation the right way, why is the main regulator, SEC, trying to disadvantage their company while giving a company, Ethereum, a pass to try and skirt regulations? You do have to ask the question. Check this out.
One thing on this note that I think is important, we're viewed, some of you who follow Ripple might know this, we're viewed in the broader sort of blockchain Bitcoin space as a bit of a sellout. to be perfectly honest. So the blockchain is all about being sort of anarchistic, right? You want, down with the man, down with governments, down with big companies, down with banks. They're the central counterparty that is, taking our stuff or charging usurious rates. We believe that the blockchain revolution, what we're doing, actually works from revolution from within rather than from out. We want to work with banks and regulators and governments to be more efficient, and we invest a lot of time in doing so. Now, we get a lot of arrows because of that, because we're sellouts. And it's ironic, sort of in a contrarian movement, we're the contrarians. Like we're not going with the flow, but we believe strongly in the impact, and it's the right approach. I don't know if I exactly addressed your question, but I think we take it super seriously, and we invest a lot of time and money to sit down with banks and make sure that we're working with them versus trying to disintermediate them and trying to skirt around the government or the regulators.
And that's really the story right there. But yet we're the ones who have been targeted by the SEC, which is why I always say this legal case is very real. And there's lots of real money been lost from holders of XRP. There's lots of real customers from the United States that have been lost to Ripple, I'm sure. There's lots of damage being done, millions upon millions of dollars poured out for legal defense for Ripple. And on top of all of that, I believe it is also because we are in an audit and vetting process of this company and this new technology and digital asset. And once it's through all of this, I think it will be the most compliant, vetted digital asset on planet Earth. Now take a look at this. This is from Charles Gasparino just a short time ago. U.S. financial executives say based on convos with White House and the Federal Reserve, the cross-border settlement system known as SWIFT will likely not be shut down if Biden cranks up sanctions against Russia over Ukraine. Big U.S. banks have been monitoring their counterparty risk, re Russia, for the past month and are said to be prepared for the fallout if and when severe sanctions are imposed. More on the Fox Team Cavuto show. And look, if I get a clip from that, I will play it for you. But this is really what we're talking about here. Because let me show you this image. Now, this is a speculation here on my part, but I believe that this is an accurate way to see a macro picture of the market infrastructure that Ripple has been building. RippleNet, I believe, is a digital arm or new digital arm of some kind of merger, acquisition, or collaboration to SWIFT. I believe that the DTCC, Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, and the PolySign could also become a collaborative merger acquisition to the settlement and custody of securities and cash and tokenized fiat and such, right? Cryptos and everything else to go along with it. And possibly Ripple itself may find itself on a destination to become a bank, and because they actually have 50 plus billion or whatever the number is now in escrow of XRP, and they've been exercising what I believe is monetary policy of the asset XRP, it could become a backstop for the Federal Reserve and all of the trouble and pain and spillover shocks they are experiencing and will continue to experience because they are serving as the global reserve currency with the US dollar and the deliberate shutdown of the economy due to a pandemic and a liquidity crisis that existed before it. So, all of these things are very real, and just the sanctions towards Russia alone, as you can see, are systemic themselves because all the banks are tied to the hip for doing business globally. Now, I show you this because this I want you to see is this is INATBA, right, which is an association involving European Commission and many, many other players that are part of that group, joining forces as of December of last year for blockchain standardization. Remember, European Commission's there. We know a lot of stuff is going on with the ECB, the Euro, all of that talk. Quick 30 seconds from Brad Garlinghouse in 2019 showing they're a founding member on that committee.
Hi, I'm Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO here at Ripple. It's an honor and really a privilege for us to be one of the founding members of the International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications. This really is a pivotal time for the distributed ledger technology industry. It's critical that as an industry, we come together and engage with regulators and with governments globally. The work we're seeing with the European Commission is pivotal and can be leading in this effort. We're thrilled to be involved and look forward to being a leading participant.
I tell you, this is remarkable. Even, I gotta touch it, the 22-2, and we're in 2022. Who knows what these things, it could be complete coincidence. But I tell you, you just have to acknowledge it for all the conspiracy theorists out here. This is the European Central Bank report from April 2021. The use of DLT in post-trade processes. Now, first of all, it's a 40-page report, and it is 40 pages of captivating verbiage used to explain how they are moving to this infrastructure in every single possible way. And I mean in every way. I can't stress it enough. Now, I can't go through all 40 pages, but I am going to highlight for you on a couple here just so you get a feel for what's going on inside of this and how serious the ECB is to moving to these things. Look at this. Regulatory governance, interoperability, considerations in distributed ledger technology environment, DLT. It goes over the considerations on digital assets and the related regulatory framework, taxonomy-related issues and tokenization of assets, right? I mean, I'm just giving you an overview here, but it's going to get better. Interoperability between different DLT-based systems. Well, let's drill down on this for a second, okay? Interoperability between different DLT-based systems. Well, isn't that what the Interledger Protocol can do? And the XRP ledger also? The answer is yes. That's why there's been federated sidechains built off of the XRP ledger to make it even more interoperable. That's why the XRP ledger is a decentralized exchange, period. Is so you can have the financial world be able to plug into this new digital decentralized exchange with all of the things of the world that have been tokenized and digitized and moved to the new digital world. So we can have this ledger this immutable ledger that, by the way, does what Bitcoin can't. It bridges the old world to the new world. Do you know of another ledger that does that successfully? To the tune of the partnerships that Ripple has? Certainly XLM's ledger can do that. We know Jed McCaleb can do that. He took the code of the XRP ledger to go start Stellar. But do they have the level of partnerships of the banks and financial institutions that Ripple does? I don't think so at this point, but it doesn't mean that they can't do it. That's what we're talking about here. Interoperability, DLT networks, two different models below. A trusted third-party model where network members choose a third party to validate transactions of information, usually off-chain. Direct link model leveraging technical arrangements, smart contracts, or atomic swaps to ensure interoperability, direct on-chain and between-chain. This model requires more complex arrangements and significantly higher development effort than a trusted third-party model. From an operational perspective, the two main models are as follows. Trusted bridging, which takes place with the involvement of intermediating third party fulfilling the role of a bridge. This requires participants to trust the intermediary during the entire process. Trustless bridging, where there is no need for any third-party involvement for the successful use of the solution. This requires more complex arrangements and significantly higher development effort than trusted bridging. And industry participants are presently building their own DLT-based systems. There is a risk of incompatibility between the different systems, potentially leading to fragmentation. Standardized rules are needed and can be ensured by adopting one of the following: a predetermined standard and common rules for messaging, a la ISO 20022, a la RippleNet, which has a governance and rules built into that enterprise solution for smooth interactions in context of a consortium for specific use cases where new entrants and DLT-based businesses and incumbents have to cooperate as participants. I tell you, this stuff is very compelling, this entire report. I look right here, issuance of recording post-trade handling of securities now. In a DLT environment, identified practices and key implications. Talking about settling securities now, are we? Securities issues as native digital assets and Model 2. Securities issued traditionally and made available on a distributed ledger by either migrating, linking, or tokenizing them via distributed ledger technology. This is the kind of stuff that's in this report here. You think they're doing this because they're not going to do it? Here's another interesting, compelling little tidbit here. Distributed ledger definition, very, very much like what we understand it, a shared database where records can be updated by a set of participants with no need for a central database management system used to validate such updates in traditional database. Now, DLT network, listen to this. A set of nodes that share the management of a common set of information which is recorded in a distributed ledger. What fits in your mind inside of that? Right? To me, the XRP ledger fits inside of that. And am I speculating? You damn right I am. I'm not asking you to. I'm just telling you I am. It's my digital perspectives here. I'm not selling a used car. What I can tell you is, however, though, it is extremely compelling to me because when I see distributed ledger technology written in central bank reports, I replace that in my mind with XRP ledger. And the reason I do is because I can't name another project or company that has the amount of partnerships and relationships, and I mean deep relationships, that Ripple has. Just take a look at RippleNet and the hundreds of large banks that are on that system. You think of it. You find something else that has, I'm not talking about something that has the same technology and capability. You can talk about the Stellar Foundation. Look, I'm a believer in XLM. Okay? You can talk about Quant and other things, but do they have the same level and depth of banking and financial relationships as Ripple? The answer is no, they don't as yet. Not as yet. Not as deep. Here, this I found interesting. On page 35 here, it talks about the Australian Securities Exchange. You don't say. You don't say. Well, I remember, too, I was like, that ASX, it was really sticking out in my mind. What was it about the ASX, the Australian Securities Exchange, ASX chess? And I was like, I knew I remembered something. And you know what it was? It was this right here. The statement of the Australian Securities Exchange deed of variation of settlement agreement with Sword Labs. And it goes through to tell you here the terms of the variation are as follows. The party agreed at Sword Labs obligation of $579,800 US, according to the clauses in the settlement agreement, shall be fulfilled by transfer of Ripple, equivalent in that amount, from the cryptocurrency wallet on November 9, 2018. The transfer of that amount to Ripple, or using Ripple, per Ripple, and the cryptocurrency wallet. You know, look, at the very least here, we see that the payment obligation is settled by transfer of Ripple. At the very least, we see it settled by Ripple. And I went and pulled it so we could actually see here. This is where they talked about it in 2017, selected blockchain to cut its cost. This is how long this has been going on, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the actual post here from Byte Power Group Limited. And it shows right here, Ripple equivalent, right? Ripple cryptocurrency wallet used for the transaction and the payment obligation settled by the transfer of Ripple. Now, does that mean that they're going to be used in the settlement of the Australian Securities Exchange? Maybe not. But for me, I could tell you I'm leaning in quite heavily. And understanding that just recently here in the U.S., I covered the Sunshine Act meeting from the SEC, where they all voted unanimously to shorten the settlement time for the Securities Exchange Commission and securities in the United States. Just as we've seen here for the ECB report and the Australian Securities Exchange. Now we see the U.S. doing it. Is anyone else picking up on a narrative here? Am I alone? Am I standing out in left field and everybody's on the mound? What's happening here?
The ever-increasing pace of advancements in technology, including distributed ledger technology, further shortening the standard settlement cycle in the near future may be both desirable and feasible. Indeed, some such efforts are already underway.
Distributed ledger technology desirable for shortening the settlement time of securities, and indeed some such efforts are already underway. Then we come here through all the hubbub and let's listen to them vote on it.
And the Securities Exchange Act on clearing and settling.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, the recommendation is approved unanimously.
There it is, approved unanimously. So now we know the ECB is using DLT, moving to DLT of some sort. The Australian Security Exchange has already made that decision to do so.
I'm your guy. I will keep you posted. I'm your advocate. I'll be back on a daily basis, usually multiple times per day, with these videos to keep you updated with everything going on. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't done so, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Feel free to share any of my videos with your friends, family, social media, or anybody who may care to listen. Thanks so much for your continued support. I'm always here for you. I want to help you through this time. So thank you so much for continuing to choose me. Enjoy your day, stay safe, and I'll catch you again probably in a couple hours. Thanks, everybody. See you later.